Hello, this is Miss Dagenford, and today we're going to be looking at the next phylum of animals, and that would be our arthropods. And you probably know this already, arthropods, and maybe you guys can pause the video and see if you know this. What does the name arthropod mean? Arthropods mean jointed legs. So if you knew that, polite round of applause for you. Arthropods are still invertebrates. We don't see a vertebrae or dorsal spinal cord, so we're still in the invertebrates. They do have an exoskeleton, which gives rise to that jointed leg. And so all of the insects and crustaceans and millipedes and centipedes and spiders and unfortunately ticks, all of these arthropods have some form of exoskeleton. And then they also have segmented body parts that go with it. And it's the number of segments and the number of legs that go with it that end up classifying them. Now, there's one that you may have noticed I didn't say, trilobites. Well, they're extinct. We have lots and lots of fossil records of them, but we don't see them now. So we have crustaceans, insects, myriapoda, which here's your PSAT practice. Myriad means many. Poda or pod means legs, so many legs. So these are going to be your millipedes and centipedes. And then chelicerates are going to be the group that includes arachnids and ticks. Lovely daddy long legs, which those are harmless. So let's take a look at this exoskeleton. The joints do allow for movement. Here's our lovely cicada that we're going to be seeing soon. And so the cuticle of the exoskeleton is jointed, and it's made of chitin, which is a combination of a protein and a polysaccharide. It's nice and hard, it protects the body, but that means it's limited growth. So arthropods typically have to shed their exoskeleton in order to get larger. Now, many of you are familiar with blue crabs as they molt and we get soft-shelled crabs. And that would be an example of shedding. And as the exoskeleton is soft, that allows the arthropod to get larger. You're going to see this with our cicadas as they emerge from their nymph stage and emerge from the shell. That's when they can actually get a little bigger. Their wings are pretty shriveled and tiny when they first come out, but then as they emerge, the wings get pumped full of water and they get bigger. So we're going to start seeing really sophisticated sensory organs, antennae, eyes, the sense of touch, and sensing vibration. So we're really starting to advance on the brain and sensory organs, especially in flying, where we have sophisticated bundles of neurons that are coordinating the flying. And so, just going back to what we learned the other day, where all of the organisms now are going to become more and more complex. So arthropods, if we go back to the circulatory system, arthropods have an open circulation system. So remember, that means the heart is pumping blood, but the blood vessels open like a garden hose, and the blood or hemolymph bathes the organs. And not all the blood is red, especially in arthropods. For instance, horseshoe crabs, the blood is blue because they have copper for their oxygen binding pigment. And then for the eyes, arthropods have compound eyes, which still sophisticated and still able to see pretty well, but very different from ours. So the first one we're going to look at, crustaceans are marine. You probably are familiar with lobsters and crabs. not not crabs, lobsters and crayfish and crabs are going to be one group. They're decapods. They have 10 legs. Barnacles would be another type of crustacean. And then isopods are the little roly-polies that you sometimes see that can roll into a little ball outside in the garden. They're really tiny, um, dare I say, somewhat cute. You might recall them from A Bug's Life. They were the two acrobatic little bugs. And what's common about crustaceans is they have two body sections. The cephalothorax, cephalo meant head, thorax means the chest, so that's combined. And then there's the abdomen, and some of them have more distinct tails, others, like the crabs, do not. They also have antennae that are going to be very, very helpful in sensing and detecting the area around them. So we are very familiar with these because of our Baltimore blue crabs, and you're going to be able to watch a couple of videos that help just discuss their role and how we can best manage our blue crab population. So the next group would be arachnids, and these are part of the group for chelicerates. And chelicerates include horseshoe crabs, arachnids, sea spiders. Yeah, you're not going to like this group sometimes, but horseshoe crabs are pretty cool. Arachnids are, of course, the spiders. This would also include daddy longlegs. They're not the same, so daddy longlegs are not toxic to us. And But all chelicerates share. They don't have antenna. They have 8 legs, but they also then have chelicerae and pedipalps, which are sometimes mouth parts, sometimes used for reproduction. So what the male spiders can do is actually use their appendages to give the female a packet of sperm, and it's a unique form of internal fertilization. The female is going to take the sperm packet, and the sperm will be inside of her reproductive system. So we do see the 8 legs. We see venom that can be made, and they have silk glands. Now they also have really unique bulk lungs, and what we're going to find with the respiratory systems in just a bit is that they, as soon as we're getting bigger, remember, you need to deal with getting enough oxygen to your body. And so at this point in time, we're going to find organ systems that have a lot of surface area. And the surface area means that you're going to be able to absorb substances in across a large absorptive area, and that makes you more efficient. So in this case, spiders have book lungs, or sometimes they're called book gills, and they look like the pages of a book, and that's why. Now, the Malpighian tubules are helpful for conserving water loss in their kidneys, in their nitrogenous waste. And then the spiracles are going to also be helpful for air transport, but it's going to help, the way they're designed is going to help reduce water loss. Because at this point, notice we've switched. Now we're talking about terrestrial organisms, and terrestrial organisms, now we got to contend with losing water. That's an important thing that we have to look at in terrestrial organisms. So we have that exoskeleton, we have that cuticle. We're going to start seeing more and more adaptations for terrestrial life. Insects are going to be the one that you are the most familiar with. They're dominant. They have 3 body sections: the head, the thorax, and abdomen. Some of them are independent, some of them are colonies. You probably couldn't tell which ones are which, right? There are flies that they're completely independent. but then there are bees, there are termites that have colonies. Now, insects undergo a couple of different types of life cycles. In incomplete metamorphosis, they pretty much look the same when they're born, but they have some slight differences. Most of the time, their wings are undeveloped. So you'll notice with grasshoppers, they just get bigger. And then as they get bigger, some parts of them are more mature, like wings, or the legs might be bigger. But that's incomplete metamorphosis. So they don't really change too much. They are the larva stage underground or as young, and then a nymph. And the nymph simply gets bigger, they shed their exoskeleton, and then they are good to go. The cicadas that will be coming soon are going to be uh, incomplete as well. So the nymph that comes out is pretty similar to the adult, but usually you just don't see the wings. And so as they come out, the wings will unfurl. They're pretty puny at first, but then as they stick around for a couple of hours, the wings are pumped full of water and they get nice and large. And as they dry, then they become their adult forms. So that's what we're going to be looking for in the coming weeks and listening for the coming weeks. And then you have complete metamorphosis, and the insect changes form entirely, where you have egg, larva, and then the larval form is what you typically know of as the caterpillar. And then they will undergo a metamorphosis where they go into a pupa stage. And at this point, everything completely changes. The cells rearrange themselves. Different genes are turned on and off. I mean, it's crazy and it's amazing and it's weird to think about. Here you're seeing a monarch butterfly, and on their native milkweeds, I would encourage you, if ever you get interested in gardening, get some milkweed. This is definitely a case of if you build it, they will come. Monarch butterflies love milkweed. They will lay their eggs on it, and then you will get, and these are wonderful for native habitats, and so these are really good to have. Okay, so the next video, we're going to talk about the different systems, the new and improved systems in our animals.